we go. Okay, Moirai Veraboy say. Gotta work. Okay, it's not working. Okay, shall we? Here we are. Okay. Vayavo Amalek. We'll learn the beginning of this Maimer. Yeah. This is the story in the Pasha, right? We're learning Chumash, Siches. But this case, we're learning a Maimer because there isn't exactly a Sicha, but fine, it is what it is. So here we go. Vayavo Amalek. You with me? I'm reading from the beginning, page 101. Amalek came. And he starts a war with the Jewish people in a place called Refidim. The Jews are traveling. They left Egypt, they went to Mora, they went to Elim, they went to Midbar Tzin, a bunch of places, and they come to Refidim. What happens in Refidim? The first thing that happens in Refidim is the mice with the Be'er. That's where they get the water. Remember? They get the well. And after they have the water, Amalek comes and attacks. So Meisha Rabbeinu says Yeshua ben Nun. Choose for us men. Now we already know why. Why does Meisha Rabbeinu say Bechal Lonu Anoshim? Why doesn't he say Bechal L'cha Anoshim? Choose for us people. Doesn't say choose for you people. Yeshua is going to fight the war. Meisha Rabbeinu is going to sit on a rock and keep his hands raised. Yeah. So why do you say Bechal Lonu Anoshim? So the Rashi says, and Chassidus explains it, you need Anshe Moshe to fight with a chutzpahnik. You need a chutzpahnik of Kedusha. That's Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan, right? Now, but Azal Pirshu, now you know how I do this, girls, right? I read only the underlines. So I started here and I'm holding here. But Azal Pirshu, it says in the Chazal, it's a Medrash. They came to a place called Refidim, right? Refidim is a place, it's a geographical location, Refidim. But the Torah keeps mentioning the name more than once. The word Refidim is mentioned in the Chumash a few times. Why does it have to mention where the war took place in Refidim? And the answer is because the root of the word Refidim is Rifyoin. Does anyone know what the Rifyoin means? Chalishut, weakness. Rifyoin means weakness. So Refidim means a place of weakness. Amalek was able to attack the Jewish people because the Jewish people were in a state of rifin, of weakness. Let's read it inside. The Jewish people weakened their hands from words of Torah and which is why the enemy was able to attack them. Now, girls, I'm going to ask you the question. Which part of your body do you use to learn Torah? Your mind. So why does it say Rafu Yudeyim and Divrei Torah? It should say Rafu Moicheseyim, their brains. Now the word Refidim sounds like Yad, right? Raf Yudai. You understand? It's a translation of the word Refidim. Refidim means that their hands were weak, but your hands are not weak from words of Torah. Your mind is weak from words of Torah. You understand the question? What's the answer? That they had no problem learning. They learned. But they had a problem doing. If you learn Torah and it stays in your brain alone, it's not Torah. That's Chokhmah, that's science. The trademark of Torah is that it comes down to your hands and to your feet. All of your limbs, all of your organs, all of your bones speak. And the connotation of Rafu Yedehem, their hands were weak. The meaning of the words Rafu Yedehem means they studied Torah, but they didn't study Torah the way you're supposed to. How are you supposed to study Torah? That the ideas do not remain in theory, they come down into action. Right? Right? You've been brainwashed in Lubavitch. I'm sorry for saying that in public. Right? What is a Lubavitcher brainwashing? Action is the main thing. The proof that your life is religious is not what's going on in your mind and your heart. It's what's going on in your body, your heart, your arms and your legs. And in the Fidim, they had still a Torah. But the Torah did not translate to their arms and legs. This was considered a chassadim. So the Rebbe says, next underline, kinderlach, girls. I'm reading from here. Mevuar betanya. You see what I'm reading? It says in Tanya. The Lakolish Yisrael, every Jewish Shtei Nefashos. There's two souls, Shtei Nefashos, which are the two souls. Nefesh Achas, the first soul, is without a klipa, without a achara, comes from klipa. It comes from no good. Correct? V'nefesh Hashenis, and the second soul is Chelek L'kam Imal, Mamish is a piece of Hashem from above, Mamish. And the Rebbe continues, these two souls are fighting with each other, right? What is true about the war of the souls? There's no United Nations, there's no peacekeeping force, and there's no ceasefire, you understand? There's no, you know what ceasefire means? You're still fighting. Just take a break. There's no ceasefire. It's, as they say in America, there's no holds barred, taking no prisoners. Right? It's a war. In America, in the West, they have all these ideas of pshara, of compromise. Don't know such things. For them, it's a war to the death. It's either kedusha or it's klipa. It's not both. Period. Right? That's what the war between Shalakis and Shabbos is. Says the Rebbe, Ushtein, Nefashos held these two souls. The Chom is who are fighting with one another, Lich Bishes and Guf to conquer the body. Which of course, as the Pasuk says in the beginning of Pashas Tel, this quote, Ula'oim mila'oim ye'amat. Remember those words? La'oim, what's a la'oim? A nation, a ummah. La'oim mila'oim, just two nations. They're fighting. Yankov and Esav are two nations. They're fighting. When one wins, the other one loses. When the second one wins, the first one loses. You know that the Rebbe said, that the Zohar says, that Jerusalem will not be built until Damascus falls. Damascus, Syria. The Rebbe said during the Yom Kippur War that Israel has to take Damascus, even for an hour, and then they can give it back. They have to break the will. They have to subdue Damascus, Syria. I don't know why, but in this context, it's because there's Eliyu Mazeh. And this is the nature of the war, which is Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Bahamis. Kishazek comes and Neifel, and one drives, the other one falls. Shenefesh Elokis Tichbesh Aguf. The godly soul wants to conquer the body, and of course, the Nefesh Bahamis wants the same thing, right? So there's a fight. There's a fight between Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Bahamis. It's a bitter, miserable fight, and there's no vacation, there's no time off, there's no ceasefire, there's none of those things. It says the Rebbe, for the Nefesh Elokis to defeat the Nefesh Bahamis and the Yetzer Hara, Shenefesh Elokis Tichbesh Aguf, that the godly soul should conquer the body, have help. It says in the Gemara, Amar Azal, Bros, Yetzer Hara, Hashem creates the Yetzer Hara. Brosi lay Teira Tavlin, Hashem made the fortification of the Yetzer Hara. The spice which defeats the Yetzer Hara is Teira. If the maneuver, if the disgusting one, if the Yetzer Hara attacks you, Mashcheu Lebeis HaMedrash, slap him into the yeshiva. In other words, that using the power of Teira, you can defeat the Yetzer Hara. Yeah, so this is what the Pasuk says. We have a war between Yetzer and Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer wants to subdue the Yetzer Hara, that it should be serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Yetzer Hara wants its interest. And when you have a good fight, you need weapons. The weapon of choice for the fight between the Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Bahamis is Teira, right? You with me? We're good? Turn the page. Next page, page 102. However, you with me? If a Yid is in a good place, he learns Torah, and Torah helps him defeat the Yetzer Hara. Okay? The Oz HaTeira Nasis Tavlin Yetzer Hara. If a person is strong, if a person is healthy, Torah is enough. Torah becomes the tavlin, Torah becomes the spice, Torah becomes the antidote to the Yetzer Hara. However, a person's hands are weak from learning Torah. Now, girls, what does that mean? He's still learning Torah, but he's not learning Torah in the kind of way that his hands get the message. He's not learning Torah in the kind of way that because he's learning Torah, he doesn't mitzvahs are. There's a separation. That's not good. Hine, then they said Malcolm, it gives place for this happening of Vayavo Amalek v'lachem Yisrael Amalek to attack the Jewish people. If a person is healthy, if a person is smart, I can give you examples from my own life. I've watched this happen. You know what a procrastinator is? What's so funny? You know what a procrastinator is? Yeah. I'm also a procrastinator. You have a great idea, So you're sitting around, I have a great idea. So, great idea. And what happened? You remain sitting. And one guy gets up and does it. Why? He's normal. He's normal. Normalna, Did I say that correctly? He's schlepping, right? Everybody else takes their time. Successful people, if they can do something now and they can do something in 5 minutes, they do it now. It's not just that they're in a rush. It's that there's no separation between their brains and their hands. There's this video, the film of a Yid coming over to the Rebbe, a rich Jew, who had actually, he gave a lot of money to Tzedakah. I forgot his name. I should know his name. Jungreis was his name. Jungreis. And he tells the Rebbe, they have an organization in Israel, and they have, I think, 107 or 108 orphans that they're going to do something for, maybe a mitzvah or something around. So he comes over to the Rebbe to talk about this project that he's involved with. He says, I have an idea. Wouldn't it be nice if the Rebbe would send each one of these children $1? So he picks up a package. In the package, you have $100 bills, and he gives it to him. Here's 100. So he's like a little bit. So he tells the Rebbe, it doesn't have to be now. And the Rebbe says, if it could be now and it could be later, why shouldn't it be now? And the Rebbe gives him the $100. If you don't have enough, I'll give you more. But you see the spontaneity. If something could get done now, it could get done in 5 minutes, do it now. I met a friend of mine who met a Jew in Israel who has a big yeshiva. And the Rebbe held very highly of this person. So he told me, my grandfather, this person whose name I'm not going to say, the minute he has an idea, he's on down your neck. He says to me, my grandfather had an idea, I should get married to a certain girl. I wasn't interested in getting married. Anyway, he called me and he convinced me. The 5 minutes after I was convinced, he set up the date. I said, wait a minute, I need some time. He says, what do you need time for? Go. Successful people act right away. In Yiddish, there's an expression, getracht and getan. You thought about it, you do it. Too many of us get stuck. That's called Rafa Yedei. I still understand the Torah, but there's a separation between my brain and my body. My brain knows that this is right, and my body's saying, yeah, I should do it. A healthy person doesn't have that problem. So the Torah isn't saying, Yidden, we're not learning Torah. They were continuing to learn Torah, but the hands were not listening to the head. This is where Amalek shows up. Amalek gets us when we're weak. Amalek never attacks the person who's direct and deliberate and bold and decisive and actionable. It's the person that says, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's think about it some more. This is where Amalek is. Verstehst? Says the Rebbe, I'll read page 102, middle paragraph, third line again. Zeh, nois, and mok. This is what creates the space. Lihiyes, that there should be Vayavo Amalek, that Amalek comes along, Vayalachem, maybe solidified to the Jewish people. He sees Jewish people learning Torah, but he sees that the Jewish people are hesitant to translate what they're learning into action. Here's Amalek. You ready? The pshat is the hine with the Torah the boy. If a person learns Torah correctly, you come as all the Gemara says. That there must be before you learn Torah to make a bracha on the Torah. What's the big deal of making a bracha on the Torah? So the Rebbe says, V'oz dafka, only when you make a bracha on the Torah, leave with the Torah shalei, you're learning Torah. Who could the boy that it's supposed to be? How was it supposed to be? Shalei mit Torah menas la'aseh. You're learning in order to do. If you're learning and there's a separation between your brain and your hands, that's not Torah. What's the difference between Torah and philosophy? Philosophy are ideas. Torah is life. Life is in the brain, life is in the heart, life is in the arms and the legs. If there becomes a separation between the brain and the rest of the body, that's rifshem, that's rifidim. Okay? Says the Rebbe, I'm reading here. Look, Move on, which teaches us when a person is missing. Their chassaron is not that they're studying Torah. Their chassaron is their deficiency is translating the mitzvah, the Torah that learned to doing mitzvahs. This proves what this person is missing. It's laid out with kiyum mitzvahs. He's not just missing the performance of mitzvahs themselves. Kiyum gam believe in the Torah. There's a chassaron is learning Torah, because if you learn Torah correctly, it's learning Torah in such a way that the Torah changes you. You don't speak Yiddish, right? You speak Russian, speak Yiddish. In Yiddish, there's an expression. So they'll learn in Torah, und the Torah they'll learn epis lernen. The word in Yiddish for learn is lernen. The word in Yiddish for teaching is also lernen. In English, it's two words, to learn and to teach. In Yiddish, it's the same word. So the Frierdiker Rebbe said, "Medaf lernen Torah, as the Torah will do epis lernen." You have to learn Torah, the Torah should teach you. You learn to learn. Learn means it. If you learn Torah, the Torah doesn't teach you anything, it's called Rifya in your dime. There's a problem. This is where Amalek is. Says the Rebbe, made this deficiency shows. Became a mitzvah. Not just missing kiyum mitzvahs, missing learning Torah. Favos, tagam shulei metera. Even though you're learning Torah, avomikiv and shlei bayirach b'Torah tchila. Before you study Torah, you make a bracha. What does the bracha mean? What does the bracha on the Torah mean? That Hashem gave the Torah. If I make a bracha on the Torah and I realize Hashem gave the Torah, I realize Hashem gave the Torah for a purpose, that I should do it. Therefore, girls, I am 7 lines from the end of the paragraph at page 102 at the beginning of the line. I am missing doing the mitzvahs in actual fact. This shows that you're learning Torah, not as it's supposed to be. Why? If I know something, I used to say this years ago, what's the proof that you're standing outside of a hospital? What is the proof that you're standing outside of a hospital? A whole bunch of people standing outside in white coats smoking cigarettes. Right or wrong? Am I true or false? You come to a hospital, in the front, all the nurses are standing and smoking cigarettes, all the doctors. They have special times. Every hour they come down, they smoke together, they schmooze. You go to the front door, you go to the emergency. Could there be a greater illustration of hypocrisy than that? These are medical practitioners. We're supposed to take care of health. They're not allowed to smoke inside. Right? You see, I did that also without an accent.
Maybe you know Russian.
So they don't. I wish I knew Russian. I know a lot of words, but I can't string out. When you talk, I don't understand what you're saying. I can read Russian, but I don't understand it. Wait, so you come to a hospital and they're standing outside smoking and says, you come to a hospital because chas v'shalom you have respiratory trouble and all the people are going to take care of you are smoking cigarettes. What's the pshat? The story with Aristotle. Aristotle was a big philosopher. One of the greatest. Aristotle was a politician. That was his downfall, I think. He understood politics. Politics and philosophy and now they go together. Why? Philosophy is supposed to be truth. Politics is false. The philosophy of politics is the emes of sheker. You understand? He was the teacher of Alexander the Great. So Aristotle was the teacher of Alexander the Great. Probably the greatest man in the history of the world. From a success, he was a big Rosh, he was an evil man. The most successful man in history is, I think, Alexander the Great. I'm not talking about Yiddishkeit, I'm talking about history. Aristotle taught all kinds of philosophy. He wrote on everything. He wrote on nature, and he wrote on science, and he wrote about civilizations, and he wrote about purpose. He wrote on everything. And he also wrote on morality. Morality means right and wrong, basic right and wrong. Now, in those days, remember, they didn't have today, books, and the books were very rare, they're very expensive. So there was a lot of talk, debate, talk. So all the students gather in this place. If you go to Athens today, I've never been to Athens, but I've seen tours of Athens on the video. They know the spot where Aristotle would sit and Fabreg with his disciples. No, they know the place. And they know the place where Aristotle lived, a few 100 meters away, 20 meters away. So Aristotle came to this place, and he sat down with his Talmidim, and he explained to them something about immorality. I think it was Eva Menachai. Something very basic. You shouldn't eat an animal alive or something like that. He finished the speech and he went home, or something else. Whatever, maybe it doesn't matter what it is. The students sat down to review what the teacher said, and they went over it and they talked about it, and they didn't understand. So they went to Aristotle to ask him to explain it. They walk into his tent. He's sitting on the floor doing that Aveda. Doing the very Aveda that he just explained to them. I remember the Rebbe telling this story. So they were shocked. And they said, I don't understand. You're the teacher. We're only the students. We would never do this because you explained just that it's wrong. How could you do it? So he said, and I remember the Rebbe saying it, it's there, now I'm not Aristotle. Now I'm big. Now I'm not Aristotle. The Gemara says that one of the Apikursim said to Ameimar, he says, until here is God, and from here is Lucifer. Your upper half is God, your lower half is animal. And the whole word of Yiddishkeit is that there's no two halves. And from till here is God, and after here is Klipa, there's no such thing. That's the Taichira for Yedeyim and Divrei Torah. If the upper half of me understands Torah, my hands and my feet can't do what the Torah says, there's something wrong with the Torah. Not nothing wrong with my hands and my feet, there's something wrong with the Torah. There's an interruption. There's a separation between what's higher and what's lower. The Fashtest, which is why it's written, I think I circled the words, Sharafu Yedeyim Midivrei Torah. Their hands were weak from words of Torah, page 102, middle paragraph, 5 lines from the end. Now wait. What do hands have to do with Divrei Torah? The answer is because if I really understand, then you're Aristotle 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for your entire life. There's no time off, no free nights and weekends. If this is right, and this is virtuous, and this is righteous, and this is moral, and this is ethical, and this is correct, what you understand in your brain, you do with your arms and legs. If my brain understands and my arms and my legs do otherwise, that's called Rafa Yedeihem Midivrei Torah. The weakness in my hands is a ride that there's a weakness in my head. That's the story of Amalek. Amalek finds Yidden learning Torah, lots of it. But he sees that the hands and the head have a separation. He sees weakness. So he attacks. Where does he attack? In the place of the weakness. Keep reading. Says the Rabbi I know this means. 5 lines from the end. Since you're doing mitzvahs with weak hands, which means maybe even if you're doing the mitzvah, but it's just like forever. If I could do it now, I could do it in 10 minutes. Why should I do it now? I'll wait 10 minutes. If the attitude is a rifyon, is a weak attitude, even if you do the mitzvah, that's a chassan in the brain. This is proof. Sharafu yadayim b'divrei Torah. Your hands are weak from the words of Torah. Translates the Rebbe. Shechatzer etzmei b'lim without Torah. There's a chassadim learning Torah. They take a learn the Torah, and they forgot that the Torah comes from the Eibishter. And what does it mean that the Torah comes from the Eibishter? Huh? What does it mean that the Torah comes from the Eibishter? Anybody know? He really means it. He means it. It's not philosophia. He means it. This is life. You have to do what he says. And as much as their hands are weak in divrei Torah. In other words, when the Torah shlei any kid boy, the learning Torah is deficient, is weak. This creates the space. Amalek should come. And fight war with the Jewish people. You understand? Huh? Yeah. So this is the story of Amalek. And like I told you before, Milchemes Hashem la Amalek Medei. It's a really weird thing. The fight that Yidden have with Amalek is forever. Amalek is as a nation gone. The people of Amalek, as a group, as a unit, as an identifiable entity, is gone. The war with Amalek is forever. Why? Because Amalek's an idea. The idea of Amalek is he finds your weakness and he attacks. And Yiddishkeit says that person whose identity is, whose inyan is to find weakness and attack is our ultimate enemy. Because he's not attacking you because he disagrees with you. He's attacking you because he can attack you. This is what we said before. The whole inyan of Amalek is Asher Korch. He sees you're passionate about Yiddishkeit, he makes you cold. He sees you're certain about Yiddishkeit, he makes you in doubt. He sees you weak about Yiddishkeit, he attacks you in your vulnerable spot. And this is Mechames Vayavo Amalek. As long as there are Jews, there's a war against Amalek. And I told this to you 2 weeks ago, I think, that it says in Yenisam and Azil. On this passage of Amalek, there's Yenisam and Azil, which is the oldest Targum. And he writes, the war between the Eibush and Amalek is from all generations. So he writes, Dara, the Ikves, the Mashiach. Yenisam wrote, he lived 21 centuries ago, before the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. It means the generation of the heel of Mashiach, our generation. We finish the war with Amalek, because until Mashiach comes, there is an Amalek. Okay? Questions or comments? Pardon me?
It was very relevant to my topic. I like it.
This is very, right, it's very important.
Very.
Very, very, very important. So in the next few weeks, we're learning siches on this. I feel bad. There's so many details to the story that are so special. But okay, maybe what I'll do next week is the Be'er actually took in the Chumash, when we learned the Chumash inside. I don't know, but there's the story of Moshe Rabbeinu raising his hands and lowering his hands. We'll learn the siches. There's 3 siches that I want to learn, possibly 4, that analyze Amalek. And Amalek never goes away. Amalek never goes away. You know how Hasidim touch Amalek? Amalek means cold. Amalek means doubt. Amalek means weakness. You know what Amalek means? It used to be. Who speaks Yiddish? Anybody speak Yiddish? You speak Yiddish? Nimnoshka. How do you say in the past? Amol. I spelled with an aleph. Amalek. The idea that it used to be, once upon a time there were Hasidim and now there's no longer Hasidim, that's Amalek. Amol, the idea that Yiddishkeit is in the past, that's Amalek. Amalek is now. Tate is now. Okay, questions or comments? Okay, we'll stop. I'm sorry I'm not giving you your full time, but I'm stumped to sit here as an Yiddishkeit. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's super relevant. Like, I felt everything you said. Like, it just, wow.
Okay. My phone number is 646-247-8641, period. I'm not promising to have the time to answer you, but I certainly cannot do it in writing, period. Leave me a voice note on WhatsApp. I will try to respond with a voice note of my own, period. People are coming back. A girl just sent me a message. She learned by me 20 years ago. Just now.